Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Welcome to Total Truth Show episode 124. The truth about hustling is our topic today. It's a hot one. We have the amazing Ken Kleinberg with us, my co-host. How are you going today, Ken?
Doing great. How about you?
Excellent. Thank you. And one of my favorite people in the world, Angelique Pellegrino, is our special guest today. We met quite a few years ago when Angelique was looking to put herself out there a bit more, do some more marketing, and she joined our Mass Media Mastery program, and we've done events together. We did Open Your Mind to Flourish in Coffs Harbour just before I had a near-death experience actually the next day. That was a very pivotal time in my life, and it was an amazing workshop we did at the time. And I've also had one of her phenomenal RTT sessions as well. This is a lady that knows all about hustling and knows the pros and cons of it. And what she does is she helps remove unconscious self-sabotage that people experience often in a constant loop. And in just 1 2-hour RTT or rapid transformation therapy session through hypnosis and several other healing modalities based on neuroscience, she's able to shift some major things with people. The transformation people have within 21 days through this proven hybrid method is absolutely life-changing, and she is brilliant at what she does. Angelique is also going to be doing a hypnosis at an upcoming retreat that I'm putting together for April, which you'll be hearing 10th to the 12th of April in Madrabar coming up. You'll be hearing all about that as well in the coming weeks. Welcome to the show, Angelique.
Thank you so much for having me. Wonderful to be here. And it's funny, you were mentioning how the world is changing, how we all came up, discovered all these lies that were told to us. But guess what? The lies involved our behaviors as well. So, hustling was just the way we were meant to survive. And so many people have been hustling because they thought they have to, And, if you look up at the definition of hustling, there's actually a positive side where, this is more like the today version where you are highly driven, resourceful, and very proactive, right? But I think that today we're talking about the more historical way of being a hustler, which uses deceptions, pressure, manipulation to get money or to get what you want, yeah? And it especially applies to salespeople. So I've got a few stories to share about that and examples of how it works and how, the repercussions of this hustling, how it affects people. But also, what makes me sort of like an expert type thing about hustling? Well, if I may say, my late husband was probably the king of them all. He was the most amazing hustler ever. I mean, I used to watch him, walk out of the house with absolutely zero money and come home with hundreds of dollars. It was just insane. He used to say, why bother working for a boss? Because when I first met him, he was trying to do the right thing. He had a job as a rep, had to drive all the way, from Sydney to Melbourne and go visit people in the country who needed the orders that were coming through. It was a heating system, but he knew that the company was never going to deliver because they were going to close down. And then get paid maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, maybe $500 a week for that, plus commissions or whatever. So, he could just go out for 1 hour and pick up this money. So how could you argue with that, So would you like me to give you a couple examples of what he used to do?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like, for instance, he'd go out with $20 into a pub. He'd place himself near a poker machine, near a woman, the perfect prey. It's really bad to talk about it, but it's really what he used to do. And, within a few minutes, she would sort of ask him, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he'd go, "Oh, I'm here because I really need to try to win the money for our rent because my wife and children are sick or some kind of bullshit, Within an hour, she would give him the money. And, we probably didn't even need the money, but he just did that, It was just crazy.
Wow.
And he would just get away with it. It was like picking money from the trees.
So let's pull apart this word hustle or hustling. Now, I've just had a look online and looking at the definition of hustling, and it's a verb that says push roughly or jostle. So they were hissed and hustled as they went in. It could also mean forcing someone to move in a quick way, in a hurried way, or unceremoniously. I was hustled away to a cold cell, as an example. Another definition of hustling is to obtain illicitly or by forceful action. Linda hustled money from men she met, as an example. And in North American English, it actually means working as a prostitute. She would hustle for a few dollars. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Many terms and definitions. But generally speaking, most people would think of it as being forceful or pushing roughly, like hustling. It's like, having that forced energy, that push energy, as opposed to a pull, magnetizing energy. It's a pushing away energy, although sometimes, and I think that's why it's links to salespeople, because a lot of salespeople can be, they just talk so much and are so convincing that often you just want to shut them up and you buy to shut them up.
Exactly. Shut up and take my money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing, I guess, being a hustler and doing it in deceptive means, or just really wanting to help people. You could be hustling, wanting to help people as well. But maybe that would be another definition. Maybe that would just be someone who's keen or who's, eager.
In fact, the word hustling, I think, intervenes a little bit with manipulation and with ego, because it's usually the ego that wants to control, wants to win at all cost, etc. So that's how we were being trained. And, because, we were all held back, as we know now. And one of the way they held us back is by clogging up some of our energy centers. So, that is why we're not aware that it's doing. Another thing he would do, like he would just pick up the phone. No, first pick up the paper, have a look at what was going on with the races. Then he'd pick up his lawyer friend and he'd say, "Hey, I got a great tip. Such and such Ross is going to win. It's for sure, And I would probably also put a couple dollars on this one because of this and this and that." And he'd say, "Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll meet you soon. Okay, I'll see you after the race. Oh, can you put $100 on it for me? Yeah, I'll see you after. Yeah, cool." And if he didn't win, who cares? He's never going to give him the $100, right? But he, most of the time, he won big, and he would just go collect. And he did it with nothing. And I was just, he was like a machine. That's all he did. He just knew people really, really well, and he would play them like there was no tomorrow. and sometimes I felt like, oh my God, this is not really ethical. But then he would say to me, he would argue with me, really? Maybe they just felt like they needed to help someone. Or maybe they, dumb enough to do it. Well, that's not my problem, is it? I don't know. It's really hard to tell that it's, what is right, what is wrong. Anyway, I'll give you another example. Let's see. So another time I was, actually, my husband was really, really ill at the time, and I got myself a job in selling timeshare. So this is why I know a lot about sales and how, it is, all about convincing people to try and buy. So we were talking timeshare. There was an average of $25,000. And when I first started the job, oh my God, I was just selling like ice cream, honestly, to Eskimos, because I could use my languages and I know Europe like the back of my hand, so I could show them the value. And it really, at the end of the day, if people only realize that if they could just come up with enough value, they don't need to cheat or exaggerate or push or shove to get their deal across, But these people, obviously, they couldn't do it as well as me. So first they got rid of my boss, because then, I should explain, every month I was getting the bonus, and that really ruffled their feathers because they couldn't have their parties anymore, and because they didn't have the cash to go do all that. So they teamed up, the whole lot of them. First they got rid of my boss, who used to protect me, called me, diamond, wished he had 5 of me. And then when they still tried to do everything, and I wasn't giving up, kept turning up no matter nasty little tricks they were doing. And eventually they paid somebody to assault me, and I lost my job. So I was a breadwinner, had a dying husband at home. And this is hustling. This is hustling. But what is the repercussions? I mean, think about what are you doing to that poor person, me, at the time. I mean, it doesn't matter. I grew from it. I learned from it. Here I am, But this is why I know the importance, because I look at these people and I sort of think, what happened to them? What happened to them to behave that way, And it is really hustling that they were doing. Hustling, it was all about getting the most sales so they could get their bonuses, etc. But, why do they think it's dog eat dog, Like, it's just really sad that people think they have to do that. Don't you think, Aldwyn?
Yeah, I find it a lot with real estate salespeople. I find that they hustle all the time. They're constantly, looking for, homes to sell, and, but particularly the sales agents, they definitely don't hustle as much to manage rentals. They definitely hustle to get the sales, because of course every sale they potentially gets worth tens of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars for the real estate sales people. So they hustle big time because they know there's big money in it. And I guess, it's good that they're keen and they're wanting the business, etc. But it also comes to a point where sometimes you just feel like, just give me some space, just leave me alone. Enough is enough. And, we've seen, I'm sure all of us, quite a few con artists in our time. And one thing that a lot of con artists have in common is that they're very good at sales and they hustle big time, and they constantly stay on your case. And the thing is that everyone who does hustle in a way that's not very ethical, the truth always comes out in the end, right? And they have to live with themselves, even though a lot of these people don't have consciences. Last of the sociopaths or psychopath type characters, and a lot of them do not have consciences, I believe. They still have to live with themselves and the karma that comes from that, because what comes around goes around, I truly believe.
Actually, karma is really, really fast nowadays. Very fast, and people don't realize that all of a sudden, and that is my biggest thing, and this is why I'm actually talking about this today, because this karma thing is so real and it's so fast. And a certain person, they don't realize it after that, the company went down, they closed the entire office, these people all lost their jobs anyway, so then they moved on to another company that was the opposition, and that also went down the gurgle, they lost their jobs anyway. They don't realize that they're not poor people. All these things are happening to me. It's just happening for a reason. And for me, I was the victim, but at the end of the day, I learned so much from it, and I came out so much better. And this is why, there's a pattern in this, people. And this is why my work is so important, because this is where I can actually clear that layer, because a lot of it is unconscious, or they keep justifying themselves that it's okay because of what they were led to believe when they were really young and controlled by everybody, But really, if they could just let go of being so controlling and mean, Yeah. There's a great quote. Sorry, just one. There's a great quote from Lao Tzu, it's Taoism. And it says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. So
Yes.
as we're shifting from a world of, push and hustle and everything, we're moving, it's a world of duality. So we kind of had to do it to move forward, but we are trying to shift. We're all pregnant at the moment. We are moving and shifting towards this place that what we call the fifth dimension, or heaven on earth, where we are just going to be more in the flow and allowing things to happen, just like this beautiful quote explains, just like nature teaches us. Allow it to unfold.
Yes.
Yes.
Having patience as well. I think that's really, because the hustle energy is like a desperation energy. And you get it also a lot with network marketing people as well.
Yeah.
Now, I've been in a lot of network marketing companies, and sure, there's some amazing products out there. However, it's about finding a fit for your product. If someone is not a fit for your product, or if they've said no, then respect the no and let them be. But then they also talk about in business about the number of times you need to follow up with people to get the sale as well. So, it's a bit of a catch-22 sometimes, but I think there's elegant ways follow up, and I think it's really tuning in and listening to what people actually really need, and don't try to sell them something that they don't need. That's where this sleazy salesperson, that's where salespeople have had such a bad rap, because often they'll push things on you that you really don't need, and they just want to get the sale for themselves rather than considering what you want.
And actually, you hit it on the nail there, because what I've learned, and that's why I became so good at it in timeshare, is that you spend the first 20-30 minutes discovering what does the person want. You ask them, what do they want, so that at the end, when you want to close, you can bring that back and show them, but this is what you asked for, this is what you wanted, and then go. So it's kind of they're selling it to themselves, and there's no need to push, as long as you give
it. Speak into that. Yeah. So one of my goals this year, and it actually started 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of last year. So no, this was not a New Year's resolutions. I don't believe in that, but started working with my coach on this. My coach has got an 80% close rate with her clients, and that's been my goal. And now I'm really leaning in further with that, because there's been a couple calls I've had where it's like, yes, the person needs to work with me and different things like that, but for whatever reason, they decided not to. So I've been exploring, okay, what's actually going on? What am I not saying? What do I need to say? And what do I need to not say? And it's not necessarily a tactic of, oh, how can I sell them to get money? No, it's how can I help them to see through the blocks that they're putting up, then themselves are putting up.
Yes.
That's one of the keys. And one of the things I've learned is like, stop going over features, stop going over benefits and stuff like that. And that's hard to do, like, because you want to just go, but you get this and you get this and you get this, and this is cool and this is awesome. That doesn't sell. The interesting thing about that is some of those changes and some of those adjustments I actually saw come into play last week when I got it was the first time I've gotten a premium client into my full-on coaching program without coming through my boot camp. So my boot camp is like the front low ticket. That's like my flagship. Most of the clients, actually all the clients up until that point that I've had that have decided to upgrade into my premium have come through the boot camp. This was the first one that came in straight and decided to jump aboard my premium coaching without
Wow.
the low ticket offer first. And see, the thing of it is I felt like the call was rocky, but my coach and I have been working on this language, and we've actually got a group chat GPT thread that we're working on, where we've invited certain language in, and we've asked Chat to take on the personality of like people like Alex Hormozy and different things like that, Myron Golden, different things. And so what I had in front of me as they were kind of scrimming around a little bit in the beginning, they were very, very doubtful about the price or wanting to work with me. I mean, they wanted to work with me. They wanted what I have to offer. And this was a couple. And, so I just stayed patient through all of it. And, one of the objections that came back to me is a common one, money. And I already knew that wasn't true. I already knew that was a smokescreen, the whole money thing, because in the beginning of the conversation, what the wife had done is explain to me how they're getting an income in and different things like that, and that they're okay and that they're they're doing fine and everything. So I kind of knew by what she had shared with me to not really buy into it.
Good work.
But also, here's the interesting thing about it is, and then I'll kind of share a real basic way that I kind of handled the money thing. The other thing that happened midway through that call is she started asking a bunch of questions, which eventually I had to sit back in my seat and go, wait a minute, this is not a good position to be in, because the person that's asking most of the questions is the person that's controlling the conversation. And so you want to be careful about that. So I kind of sat back and I was like, okay, I need to wait for the opportunity to pivot. And I finally found it, and I was able to pivot the call and regain control. So that was another feat. So that was just another, area that I had grown in, and I actually conquered that. So then I had to attack the money thing again. So what I said is, okay, totally fair. Money matters. And then he paused. And then I came back and I said, that tells me that you're thoughtful about where you invest, which is exactly how people who succeed here think. True, right? It is. So, and then I paused again, and then I asked, is it the amount or the uncertainty of return? And
good question.
Then I went for the final question. Compared to what staying stuck has already cost you, how does this feel? So it caused them to kind of pause, and it caused them to kind of reflect. And then I just kind of went in and I handled a couple more objections. Both were, the other one was timing. They've got a busy schedule. So I handled that one. And then, boom, they jumped in.
Nice.
And when originally they were teeter-tottering in the beginning, they're like, I don't know if this is the right time. I don't know if this is the right thing. Maybe I just need a life coach. Maybe I just need this. And I had to kind of go through all of that and just keep the call on track and not fall into the trap of letting them get in control. And it's like, boom. Now that's not hustling. That's not hard selling somebody. That's showing up for them, and that's helping them defeat the excuses that they themselves are trying to make. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's empowering. That's the positive way of, if we can call it, hustling type thing. I mean, there's a certain element that you need to have when you're in business, but there's a fine line, just like there's a fine line between pleasure and pain. And that line is a little bit elastic. Yes, we can push a little bit that way and a little bit that way, but you got to really stay under the line at all times. No, you did that really well. That's excellent example.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well done.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's an elegant sale, right? What you've just done there. Yeah. And because a lot of people also will procrastinate on doing something. They know they need it, or they might be confused on what exactly they do need. And so sometimes we have to guide people and really ask clarifying questions to find exactly what they do need or what's going to be best for them. And of course, if you know you can help them, then you're actually doing them a disservice by not presenting your service in a way that they can purchase with you, because most likely they'll go with someone else who doesn't care as much as you and doesn't do as good a job as you, if you don't actually get them over the line to purchase with you. If it's
they
the right,
most likely would have ended up with a life coach, because that's kind of where she was teeter-tottering.
right,
And that's not what that's not what they needed. They need me, and I know they need me. I just need to help them to get past the fear and the excuses. And plus, the other part of it that was very, very prominent in the call was, how do I even know if this is going to work? Like, I've done this so many times and it hasn't worked for me. So how do I know I'm going to start this and be able to finish this?
Yes.
Being able to answer that too, it's like, dang. Yeah.
That's self-doubt, because a lot of people have been ripped off massively, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was in the US $25 trillion a year now, where trillions of, that's huge. US $25 trillion a year people get ripped off and scammed online. That's just online. I mean, it's massive, the amount of people that are hustling and that are lying to you directly about whatever it is that they're offering and that are trying to rip you off is massive. And of course, a lot of people have been in the coaching industry and had different mentors over time. There are some fantastic mentors out there, and there are some really dodgy ones too. So how do you know which ones to trust? How do you know who to trust? So Angelique, back to you. How do you know? And actually, we've got Corinda Marley with us. Good to see you, Corinda. How do you know if you're selling or someone is actually fraudulent, right? How do you know that if they're actually legitimate or if it's a fraud?
How do you know? Well, I think keep in the conversation, ask more questions, ask your gut feeling, walk away. Maybe I tend to I'm terrible, I would buy just about anything from anyone because I trust everybody. But hey, like you said, I've had so many coaches, they say, oh, yeah, pay me $500 and I'll make you a millionaire, right? We know who that is. And that is all.
Yeah, $500 a month.
500 a month. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Person we know that was saying to people, I'll make you a millionaire, and they're paying $500 a month, and that person was not delivering at all. So a lot of very upset people, and a lot of people took that person to court. And I think, eventually it always catches up with them. You can only go for so long with this hustling and lying and deception that goes on before people wake up and more people know about it. And at the end of the day, you got to live with yourself. At the end of the day, one day we're all going to die. None of this matters anyway. However, how you do life does matter, I believe, and how you treat other people says a lot about you as a human being, because hurt people, and heal people. So yes, Angelique, that's right. They will make ridiculous promises, these con artists, and often they just...
Yeah, a lot of
thing that I want to...
Yeah, go.
The other thing that I want to say just real quick too here. So if you guys are listening to this show and you're wondering, well, how can I prove my hustle, if you will, without hustling? Actually do it ethically. One of the ways you can do it is the same way that I've been able to do it. And I have an added benefit. I have a coach who's been helping me with this. But this is one of the ways you can do it, which is really cool. And you can do this on the free version of ChatGPT. You don't even need the paid version. I've been working off the free version ever since it came out, and free version works just great for me. But here's how you do it. You begin the chat thread, and you start feeding it transcripts from the closing part of your call. And then you ask it to, take on the same role as Alex Hermosi or Myron Golden or people like that, and give you feedback on your closing, what you said that was wrong, what you need to say instead. And then here's another trick. And before I explain this next trick, I want to give a warning. When you do this, be forewarned, chat is going to do exactly what you told it to do. You're going to come back at it and you're going to go, oh, and you're going to feel grounded. Not necessarily in a good way. Here's what I mean. Tell chat to hold back all the nice comments, all the nice talk and everything, and give it to you straight. And then it's going to come back and it's going to give you something that it's going to put you in your place, but it's going to be helpful. So when you do ask it to do that, be careful, because it's going to be blunt. Because when it came back to me blunt, I was like, oh, okay. One of the first things it told me is like, you talk too much. And I was like, so yeah, just be careful. But that's a real simple way you can begin actually learning how to sell, how to hustle in a healthy and ethical way. All right.
Exactly.
Anyhow, back to you.
That's a great example. So I just want to talk briefly about, without naming anyone, but I had another experience that is going to show you this, right? Last year, through a company that I was involved with, I was offered to go on the cruise, and I'd never been on a cruise, and I thought, you know what? It's on my bucket list. The price is actually so good. Why not? It's only a few days up the coast, blah, blah, blah. So I can't remember the price. Just to make it for the story to be clear and simple, I'm just going to say it was $500. And it was just 3 days. And I even told my daughter how cool it was that I had my own cabin. She was so happy for me, etc. Anyway, 5 minutes before the cruise departs, I'm just saying 5 minutes, could have been a week or two before, she rings and says, how you going? You excited for your cruise? I said, oh, yeah. Hey, you haven't sent me a receipt yet. She said, oh, yeah. But you still have to pay an extra $500 to go on a cruise. And I said, what are you talking about? Well, you've only paid for half. You either pay for the other half or you get someone to join you. Now, that is unethical, I'm sorry. Because the thing is, what I've discovered then is that when I went on the cruise ship, they took 5 or 6 other ladies, and then even another 2 groups did not come because of that situation. One was an 87-year-old lady, also be told exact same thing, on a pension only, so really, 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 on the budget, tight budget. And when she was told she had to pay the extra or had to find someone, she just had to let go and could not go on her cruise and lost her, her money, which is so sad. So this is the person that does this on repeats. They're just, her little target. They're just weaklings. They're easy people to con. She does it over and over and over again. I mean, and then, she's probably got karmic karma catching up with her. She might be ill. She might have marital issues. She might have all sorts of things, but she doesn't realize that she's creating it because of the bad energy that she keeps putting out.
Sounds like a clear miscommunication that it sounds like $500 you thought you had your own cabin, and then you found out no, it's actually a shared cabin. So that should have bbeen clearly outlined from the very beginning if it's your own cabin or if it's a shared cabin, because you don't just dump on someone last minute to say, oh no, that's only half the cabin. That's not a very ethical thing to do. I wouldn't, that you need to tell people what they're getting when you pay for a service. What exactly are they getting? And being very clear with your expectations or the expectations of the client, being very clear with our communication. I think this is a really valid point you make, Angelique. Communication, right? Often there's a card out there that says, rarely do we communicate, we just take turns talking.
I love that. Yeah.
Rarely do we communicate, we just take turns talking. So also, I guess the thing is as someone who purchases products, we also need to ask the questions as well, be very clear about, okay, is this a cabin on my own or is it with a share? And if you thought it was definitely on your own and they said it was on your own and then they changed the game to say it's a share cabin, then that is definitely something that, I wouldn't be happy about either if that was clearly communicated. Did you have in writing that this was your own cabin initially? Was it something in writing?
No, because she didn't send a receipt, but This is why I'm saying this. It's a strategy she uses on.
Right.
people that never been on a cruise because they have no idea how much it costs. See, to me, the reason I knew kind of how much cruises cost, but because it was through a company, I thought we had a better price. And I thought, oh, this is a great way for me to be able to do that little journey, you know. So, you know, she very much knew what she was doing. It's a strategy she uses again and again and again and again. And yeah, the numbers are proving it, you know. Yeah, all these people complain, but it doesn't matter. It's behind me. I really, you know, I'm just saying people don't realize, and this is what I was going to say today. Like, I mean, really, whoever is going to ever listen to this, you know, maybe now or in the future, I really, they need to take inventory on their behaviors, on the way they do things, you know, like what you said, Ken, before, you know, you ask ChatGPT and then you get, oh, I didn't realize I was doing wrong. You know, maybe you should ask ChatGPT, is this what I'm doing okay? Or you know, because like it's wrong. And you should do an internal check. And, you know, fair enough, if you come from a poor country perhaps, and you know, it was really, really hard to survive. And even just the sales world is really hustle. A big time is like push, you know, get your KPI, you know, 80% closure, all this jazz. It's just, you gotta just slow down, you know. You gotta say, hang on, I have another one from Lao Tzu, which is Taoism, because it's very close to Buddhism, you know. I really like all this. It says, when you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you.
Be yourself. And that's when you magnetize opportunities as well. But I think really, you know, being very clear when we purchase products and also when we're selling products or services, exactly what we're getting and exactly what we're getting. Because I think this is where there's a lot of disappointment when people have expectations. People have expectations of what they're going to get, and then they don't get that. Like, so for example, many years ago, I did a press release for someone. Now, the press release is a one-page written document, which is it's like a story that you give to a journalist that they can just copy and paste the story. You're basically writing the story. Now, press release does not mean that you actually release the press release, right? But a lot of people would think a press release means you're actually releasing the press release. But a press release is actually a written document. It's like it's writing your story basically in one page that you give to journalists to give them some background on the story, or if it's written well enough, the journalist will just copy and paste the story. So there's a press release, and then there's the distribution of the press release, right? So when I do work for people, nowadays, I'm very clear that if you want a press release written for you, it is this amount. If you want a press release written and distributed to local media, national media, or international media, then it's going to be this amount, right? So you need to be very, very clear, because, you know, we're so close to what we do that we often don't realize how things come across. You know, we know in our heads what's going on, but unless we actually put it down in writing and then actually, you know, go through it with a potential client and say, okay, does this make sense? What do you understand from this? You know, we think we're clear, but sometimes it doesn't land that way because
so true. Right? Well said. That is such a great example. That's brilliant. You know, that is so true. Yeah.
Being clear on expectations and being clear on deliverables. What are we giving to people exactly?
Yeah.
And the lady with the cruise, she obviously didn't communicate, or it didn't land, or something. There was some miscommunication there where people thought it was $500 for the whole cabin on your own, and then later they found it was hard. It was, you know, a share cabin. The miscommunication, and it wasn't in writing, so you didn't have anything to go back on.
She knew exactly what she was doing, and she was avoiding all conversation. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was just an example, you know, on how people just misbehave type thing. Yeah, hustle, baby, hustle. You know, we're moving from hustling to allowing. Sorry.
Well, there are people that are outright con artists and will deliberately go out to rip people off, and there are those that just don't communicate effectively. And I think as consumers, we need to be asking the questions in detail about what we are receiving, the services in detail, because a lot of people kind of give flowery examples of what they're offering, but what are you actually really getting? And are there any guarantees with what you're delivering? And what if there's some major thing that happens in the world like COVID And what if suddenly, all the businesses are going to shut suddenly? What happens to the amount you've invested in whatever you've invested during those times? I mean, that was an interesting period, wasn't it? What happened?
Absolutely.
All those things need to be covered, I guess. And sometimes we don't think about all these things until we actually deliver the service. However, this is where maybe ChatGPT could be a great place to actually go on there and say, well, what are some things that I may not have considered that I need to consider with my agreement or with my service I'm delivering? What do I need to cover myself for? And of course, we're in such a litigious time now too, where everyone's suing everyone, and they're, people, well, not everyone, but, there's a lot of people just out, trying to rip people off. And a lot of that desperation energy, which is, it's a very ugly energy. It's a very push energy that's very repulsive.
And then that's the thing, the more desperate a person is to sell something, the less chances they have of doing so. Actually, this reminds me of a car my daughter wanted to sell. And I don't know, she had been told by this clairvoyant that she had to sell it before Saturday because otherwise she was going to be in a deadly accident, which is... Anyway, but when somebody says that to you, it kind of stays with you and you can't help it. But so she was too desperate to try to sell the car and just couldn't. So I said, okay, let's swap cars today. I'll sell your car and you drive mine. So I did. It was really, really so much more effective because I didn't have that urgency, that feeling of desperation in me, Yeah, it's so true.
Oh, it's fascinating. And I'm sure we've all had experiences of hustlers in our life. And we've probably all at some stage maybe hustled over some things where we've really, wanted to get a sale or we've wanted to promote something. So it's also noticing it in ourselves, in our day-to-day life.
Yeah. In fact, yeah. I would catch myself sometimes, like when I'm not doing this anymore, but I also was selling solar, which is the same principle. You make a presentation, the people is looking for this, so you're giving them all the reasons why you should choose this company and this product and blah blah blah. So again, my closing rate was pretty hectic, but I would come to the end, and when they kept coming up with excuses and stuff, in my mind, I would actually completely let go, and I said, well, that's okay. If you don't want it, doesn't bother me. And this is incredible because every time they would turn around and say, and there was a sale. Yeah. It's crazy, hey? Let go, and it just happens, it unfolds. Yeah. So it's really, really good to do. Yeah, definitely.
And really, a few strategic conversations can take your business or life next level. A few strategic conversations. You don't need to be having a million conversations to take things next level for you. It could be those, pivotal little points where you're actually working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Smarter, not harder with what you're doing, to let go of some of that hustle energy. And I think the more we go inward, the more inner work we do with meditation. I do yoga, I do beach walk, I connect with nature, I connect with my chickens, which are now having eggs. My little baby chicks are,
Ooh, nice.
the first egg from my chickens came on my birthday, the 16th of January. There was a little egg there. My chickens. They're so adorable. I'm so in love with my chickens. So just, connecting with nature, just getting back to basics, we've become so removed from the magnificence of the world. And, if it wasn't for people, I think the world would be an amazing place if it wasn't for certain people.
I agree.
I'd be quite happy to populate some of the population, the num-nums that just do not think and that just buy into all the propaganda, then I'd say you deserve what's coming to you, because, it's by getting informed that we can become empowered. And I say this with love, because everyone's on their own journey, right? Everyone's on their own journey, and we have to all deal with the consequences of whatever choices we make on a day-to-day basis. And I think people now, since COVID, have become a lot more wary and a lot more careful about where they're investing their money. And a lot more mentors now, I've noticed, are giving a lot more for free, because there's so much more information. We're so much more crowded with with, AI, as Corinda says, I think AI is taking over the world. Yes, Corinda, I think absolutely. It seems like it's taking over the world, and people are losing their critical thinking with AI as well. As much as it's a great tool in some areas, I still encourage you to be creative, put pen to paper, actually do the inner work, go inside, because that's one thing AI will never have, it'll never have your internal world worked out, right? You know what's going on with you. We are not part robot, right? But this is the way that the world is leaning towards, is to us becoming, part bot, and losing our humanity, and losing that heart-to-heart connection, and losing trust and faith in each other as well. This whole, divide and rule situation, which has a lot of people living in fear. And of course, the lies and the propaganda, the hustle that we see in politics, well, that's a whole other story, right? So, it's kind of rotten from the top in the way that the organization and the propaganda machines run. And there's a lot of amazing people in the world too. So it's always this yin yang of life, right? And I think choosing very carefully who you hang out with in life and in business is so important. Does that person lift you up with their energy, or do they bring you down? Can you see evidence of them being honest and truthful and faithful and reliable in your life, before you go giving them heaps of money? Now, unfortunately, I got ripped off $40,000 once by people I trusted, who I was actually in a network marketing company with, and got completely, well, they actually got ripped off as well by this other company. But I trusted these people because I'd done business with them before, but they introduced me to another investment, I'd say, scheme, which ended up being, $40,000 I put into it, and lost the whole amount. And this company changed names 3 times. And then apparently the Russian founder was dead. Apparently, I think he's probably not dead. I think he's probably changed name and gone undercover in another country. But, I think we've all had times when we've been ripped off. Trusted people, and unfortunately we've been let down. But what do? Do you just never trust anyone again? No, you don't. You still obviously, we're still in life, we're still doing life, we still want to do business with people, we still want to buy things, we still, it's just how it goes. I think we just have to really trust our intuition. We have to do the inner work. And I found the more inner work I do, the more I trust myself, trust my intuition, and forgive myself for all the bad choices I've made in the past. And you as well, everyone tuning in now, I'm sure there's been times you've been ripped off, or you've done things that you might regret. Let that go, because everything happens for us, not to us. There's a learning in all of it, and we will keep attracting the same crap until we get the lessons. And this is why people attract the same kinds of relationships, and we attract the same kinds of stuff until we get it, and we get the learning, and then we move forward and be grateful for that learning. So I think, okay, I got ripped off 40 grand. There's other people got ripped off $40 million. Other people got ripped off 300,000 that I know. It's not about the money. It's about the principle, what you learn from the situation. And of course, it hurts to lose $40,000. That's a lot of money to
that's a lot.
And of course, I clearly do not trust those people again. I will not do business with those people again that referred me to this company. Even though I did trust them before, I now no longer trust them either. So it's left a bad mark on all of that.
Here's the thing. So, it's we're in such an age, we're like in, how do I want to say this? It's not just the information age, it's the mega information age. Like, information is flying out there everywhere. People aren't necessarily looking for information anymore. It's there whenever they want. So it's like what they're now looking for. So I think, especially with the AI age, now what we're seeing, and I just saw a reel on this the other day, actually it was earlier today, and I was like, yes, I agree with that. People are now looking for more authenticity, more real, more organic, because of the fact there's just so much out there now. We're now returning back to the original level. We're people are turning back to the original authenticity and real stuff. People are now desiring that, because there's just, you got the mistrust, you've got, because we've been lied to on so many different fronts and so many different levels. That's what people are looking. So yeah, we're in the information age, but I think from the information age and everything that's going on, what's being birthed out of that is, number one, people don't easily trust anymore. People are looking for realness. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for organic now again. And I find that interesting. I find it encouraging, but I find it also interesting. We've come so far in this information, and now it's just like the deep down desire of people is now, I want real again. I want authenticity again. And I actually think that's a good thing. As far as AI goes and things like ChatGPT, yeah, it's helpful. It's a great tool. But absolutely not should we ever use it as a tool to think for us. No freaking way. That's going to make the problem worse. We need to use it as a tool. Can you use it to help you critical think? Yes. Can you use it to help you do research? Yes. But I kind of, there are times where I still like the old school method. I still like to go to my search engines and really do the digging for myself. Because even though as helpful ChatGPT is, it doesn't find the stuff that I know how to find. So use it as a tool. It's there. It can help projects go faster. It can help you be more productive. Absolutely. This is the great stuff about things like AI. Great stuff. Just don't fall into the trap of letting it think for you and do things for you that make it to where you're not critically thinking yourself and you're not coming up with stuff work from your gut. I think that's the big thing.
Yes. And with AI, of course, now, you've got AI pretending to be people and actually looking very much like the person. Now, you don't know if you're looking at an AI photo, an AI video, an AI version of a person doing something that that person wouldn't normally do. We've got AI, complete podcasts made with complete made up AI people. The tools out there with AI now is absolutely extraordinary. And it's really frustrating when you don't know if something is AI or not AI. And we're at a time, it's like smoke and mirrors. Is this real? Is this not real? How do you know you're dealing with a real human being? And often now I'm getting, phone calls from AI bots, and it annoys the hell out of me. I want to speak to a human. The number of times I call someone, call a company, and I go speak to a human, and you've got to go through all these prompts before eventually they go, oh, we'll put you through to someone now.
Right. That is the most frustrating thing in the world. Companies, listen to this. That is the most frustrating thing in the world for us consumers, is to be going through your stupid little automated system that doesn't do, well, I'll just say it, jack shit.
Yes, thank you, Ken. It's so frustrating. And how much time are we wasting speaking to robots, and we're not connecting, face to face, human to human, eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart. And this is where authenticity is so, so crucial, as you mentioned, authentically, Ken. I think you said authenticity.
Authenticity. Yeah. Is that a word?
Authentically, I think is what you meant to say. But maybe there is
probably.
Maybe there's authenticity as well. Anyway, I'm sure AI would know exactly what the word is. But this is what makes us human. It takes a highly intelligent person to say things multiple ways. Okay, so there you go. Angelique, I can see you're hanging to say something. Over to you.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree more with what you said, Aldwyn, about doing inner work, because that's how we grow. That's how we improve ourselves. And I guess taking an inventory on my own life, I was the most gullible person ever. And people took advantage of me left, right, and center. And I could, lots of stories there. So the hustlers had a field day with me because I was the best little toy to play with, really. However, so parts of this, because we came into the third dimension on this planet, parts of this was a lot of it was karmic debt. We actually accepted this, in the agreement when we first came here, to go through these traumatic experiences, because it was to clear some karmic debts. Could have been just for ourselves, could have been for our ancestors, even for our whole country or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then it comes a time where you sort of think, okay, when you've done enough inner work, you think, especially like when you realize, oh my God, I need to do some serious clearing. There's something in me that makes me repeat the same pattern again and again and again and again. Hence why I discovered rapid transformational therapy, found it to be the number one most effective way to release patterns, because you don't have to keep going to the psychologist, week in, week out, to just talk about it. One of my beautiful clients said to me the other day, I'm at the point where I sort of feel like I'm going to see a friend when I see my psychologist, and it's like, what am I paying her for? I need something better. I'm not really moving forward. And then she did 3 sessions with me, and like she was saying, maybe I need 5, and I said, no, 3 will do you. And her life is completely transformed. She's so happy. So this is where you need to realize you get to a point you need some external help. You don't necessarily have to come to me, but honestly, Reiki is wonderful. All the energy healings are wonderful. All healings, whatever suits you, whatever gels with you, whatever you feel compelled to do. But if you're really serious about releasing, passions, whether it's money, whether it's, no longer wanting to hustle so hard to earn money, that's a good one, because it was embedded in you when you were really little. So the hustling, this leads me to say hustling, the ones that think you have to really push and shove and lie and force and manipulate to earn money. This is where you got to understand this is an idea. It's an idea in your head that you can change. You don't need to do that anymore. But obviously, you're not going to go there from one minute to the next, overnight, because you can't get there from here. You've got to do some kind of release work inside yourself, inside your mind, to be able to get to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yes, true. Sometimes we're too close to what we do and how we behave. Our self-sabotaging patterns are, because whenever someone says no to buying with you, there's usually a few objections that come up. There's not enough time, not enough money, or they don't feel that they can do it. They don't feel it.
Ones, yeah.
They're all the common ones, right, that people self-sabotage. And I see it a lot with people who want to build their brand. They want to build their profile. Yeah, I really want to get out there, but first I have to do my website. First I have to have a sales page done. First I have to do that. And then they first, and the next thing another 5 years goes past.
Yeah.
Now you're looking a bit older, and now you're maybe not as confident in yourself, or maybe you are, but we generally don't look as good nowadays as we did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Although aging gracefully is lovely as well, and the wisdom lines are something to embrace and be thankful for as well, because a lot of people haven't made it to our ages right now, right? 1/3 of people die by 65. So, we think we're going to live forever, and, but, we think we've got heaps of time left to do things, but next thing anything could happen, right? Any sudden change in circumstances. But generally there's some kind of self-sabotage is what I'm saying. And where your RTT is really powerful is you work on the subconscious blocks that might be stopping people from moving forward in whatever they want to do, whether it's stopping smoking or, losing weight, or, what are some common things actually people come to you for, Angelique? Some common issues?
At the moment, I'm actually specializing towards for people who are separating or divorcing, because you see, usually, I'm giving you a big solution here, but usually you will find a lot of people, the majority of people, their first marriage, not everybody, so don't kill me, right? But often that first relationship is a karmic debt. So you get to a point where you realize that you no longer want to be with them. But you see, society makes us believe that separating or divorcing is such a bad thing, when in fact it could be such a beneficial thing for everyone concerned, because they're faking their happiness, and how do you think their children, what are they going to learn? Fake to be happy? That's what they're going to learn, because monkey see, monkey do, So that's what I'm focusing on right now, because my coach told me that it was a good idea, and I think it is, because I'm definitely making a difference there and attracting customers. But what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
That's
Oh,
what you help with relationships with
yeah,
so people are in
yeah.
relationships they don't want to be in or that they do want to be in. Are they trying to work on their relationship
You know
issues?
what? Either. So exactly right, because sometimes they love each other deeply, but there are patterns that have been embedded in them that just keeps coming and needling at the picture. And also, what we have to realize that often when we're fighting in a relationship, it's not because we don't like each other or we like two cocks that are going to hit each other. It's just that we forgot our center. If you recenter, and get out of your head, you realize, what am I fighting for? Amazingly,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing. But it helps. My work helps for all sorts of things. Like fear of flying, fear of birds, fear of. I had one gentleman. I mean, I think I might have told you that story already, but he just could not hear the sound of drums. The sound of drums would make his heart palpitate so much. He felt like he was having a heart attack. And then, of course, the universe gave him a girlfriend that was a musician. So she wanted him to go listen to her, obviously, but he couldn't, So then he did an RTT session. So I'm explaining to you. So under hypnosis, we guide the person to sort of see, bring up a picture to see where this comes from. So in this instance, he said he couldn't see anything. It was all black. So first of all, if that happens, I have lots of other methodologies that I can just roll with and get to the next level. But in his case, he goes, stop. I'm in my mother's womb. She's 7 months pregnant with me, hiding in the cupboard under pillows and blankets because men are coming into the house with machete guns, killing everybody inside. We had to flee from this country, never went back, and it was a heartbeat.
Wow.
Oh,
that's intense.
See how go back. So what I like to say that my work is more doing a copy paste to where they're at today to before any, excuse my French, shit happened.
Amazing. Yeah, very powerful.
That's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's extremely positive. And people don't realize that a little thing like maybe a bird, pecking at you when you're little could make you have a fear of bird for the rest of your life, because it happened when you were so little, and it's embedded in you. It's like your mind has decided birds are bad, birds are bad, birds are bad, don't go near them, Well, in fact, it's not the case. It's ridiculous. So it works for weight loss.
It's amazing. It's amazing that these things also happen in the womb that way. Like
yes.
that has always amazed me, because I'm just like, wow, like here's a little infant child that doesn't really have the ability to comprehend anything, the world around him or her or anything like that, but yet something like that where there's the baby's in the mother's womb and the baby can hear gunshots going off in the background and different things like that. That's just fascinating to me. Very, very fascinating. It just goes to show how brilliant God's design is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, so interesting. Just on when you said the birds pecking, I was on a Zoom call not long ago, and I had my 6 chickens on my lap or around me or on my hair, and there was a woman. There was a woman on the Zoom, like they were sort of all very cuddly because it was coming up to sunset, and they get very affectionate, these beautiful chickens. I actually got a reel online showing me cuddling the chickens. It's beautiful sound therapy as well. But there was one woman on this Zoom call, and she actually was looking away from the screen. She said, I'm getting anxiety over you with all these chickens. She's, I've got issues with chickens she had issues from her past with chickens. She couldn't handle it. And I was like, oh, they're so cute. How can you say that? But of course, everyone's got their own, stories, their own experiences, and what we think is fine is not an issue for others. They'll be freaking out.
Yeah, but a money story too. I had a gentleman who, couldn't understand in his 50s why he was not ever moving forward, and so like he worked hard all his life. When he was little, they owned a restaurant, so He would get up in the morning, be in the restaurant, prepping, cleaning, etc. Then go to school, come back from school, cleaning, prepping, going to sleep the next day again, and again. When he was old enough, he just went to the army to escape it all, right? Anyway, down the track, he had his own business, even had a building business. He was doing really well, but lots of investments. They kind of all, it was just that getting ripped off left, right, and center. Even had to go bankrupt with his building business. But really, when we got down to the bottom, and also he had a business at the time he wanted to sell, but nobody was even looking at it. And when we went under hypnosis, obviously, that's when we saw that how his father was just treating him, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you putting this here? I keep telling you. Oh, my Giuseppe, you're so stupid. Why do you put it here? No, I told you to do this. Oh, you're never going to amount to anything. You are absolutely useless. Day in, day out, day in, day out. What do you expect? If you don't clear that from your subconscious, it doesn't matter how much you try to be positive, how much you hustle. It doesn't matter how much you hustle. Ain't going to work. It's going to keep eluding you all the time, again and again and again and again. So, this gentleman had 3 offers for his business after a week of the session.
Amazing. Wow, how it can clear the space. And it's energetic work, which is where, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So, trusting your gut and trusting your first instinct, because I know a lot of people who have been ripped off, they often say, after they've been ripped off, they say, oh, when I first met this person, there was this sort of, I had this kind of off feeling, but I just put it aside and I thought, oh, no, I thought that. Then we sort of logically, we try to convince ourselves that the person is okay. The very first gut instinct is that something's off about this person. Then trust your gut instinct and learn to trust yourself.
Because that was a real hustling job on hand, and they could feel it. It was a hustle. That was not a positive one, not empowering. Yep.
Yeah. Empowering. Yeah, so for those who've joined us, thank you so much for joining us on the live. I see lots of comments by Corinda. Thank you, Corinda. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. We had Hey, hey, it's Saturday here in Australia for a long time. Hey, hey, Saturday. So, hey, 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 Corinda, who runs the Empowerment Extend show. Love your work, Corinda, in the UK. And we also have here Charles Caldwell. Good to see you here from Hong Kong. Those who are joining us right now, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube Live, let us know what hustling means to you. And have you been ripped off? And what have you learned? If you have been ripped off, what have you learned from that? Let us know in the comments. Or if you have any questions for Angelique, Ken, or myself, then pop that in there as well. Yes, Corinna says, not enough people learn properly. Well, that's right. That's why sometimes we get the lessons multiple times. Yes, some shops you go to because people try to rip you off. Yes, well, that's true too. In some shops as well, you find, and that's interesting when you go into a shop and someone says, "Can I help you?" and someone comes straight to you. What do? You say, "Oh no, that's okay. I'm just looking." Right? But if the shop assistant maybe just sits back, or maybe they ask, "Oh, how was your day?" rather than leading you straight to a product, they actually show that they care about you. That could have a whole different energy and may lead to someone purchasing from you there. So I think there's a lot that definitely shopkeepers can learn about the magnetizing opportunities as opposed to that push selling, the pull selling as opposed to push selling, and less is more. Often less is more.
Yes.
So where could you sort of pull back where you feel like you've been hustling? Where does something feel out of alignment for you? I've changed a few things in my business, about to launch a retreat in a few months. We've just put a book project out last year, Fear to Freedom. We're doing a second one now. Still got the media training and all of that, and that's going to be changing form moving forward. Constantly tweaking and looking at, where you're at now might not be where you were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And what can you change in your life now that's going to be more aligned to where you want to be in life? And particularly now coming into a new year, 27th of January already here in Australia. 26th of January, of course, in the US. We're almost at the end of January. Can you believe it? We're coming into the new year. People are just starting to come back to work, a lot of people. And there's a lot of anxiety that's also there for people because, they've just had this big break that's happened over the Christmas festive season. And now they're back to work and they're seeing all their incompletions that they haven't completed from last year. Or, they're thinking about, okay, what are my New Year's resolutions? What is it that I want to create this year? And some, it can lead to massive anxiety for people. Yes, Angelique.
Actually, talking about that, and I like the way Ken says he doesn't like New Year's resolutions. And why do you not like them? Because they never come to place, do they?
Wrong way of thinking. If you're going to change something, why are you saying to yourself, well, okay, New Year's comes, I'm going to change this and I'm going to do this and these are my goals. Yeah. Why not now? It makes more sense to start now so that when New Year's comes, you are steps ahead of all those that started New Year's.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
The other thing is, you see, it's just like, let's just say there's a guy that talks about procrastination, and he uses this analogy of a pear and an apple tree. Have you heard it? Well, have you? No. So, it's like when you're doing your what do you call it? New Year's resolutions.
Yep.
Yeah, resolutions. Yeah, sorry. If you're an apple tree and you've always been an apple tree, it doesn't matter how much you want to be a pear tree, it's never going to work, isn't it?
No.
And so this is why, again, you need to do something like an RTT session to get back to do the copy paste, to get to before anything that's been holding you back, whatever it is, do a copy paste. Because if you go back to when you were pure perfect, how God made us, arriving on this planet. I know you've been a bit conditioned already with what you've heard in Mama's belly, but, hopefully you're still pure and perfect. And, all my babies, my children and my grandchildren, I tell them you're pure, perfect. Don't pick up the crap from us. Stay pure and perfect, because that's who they are, we conditioning them, we're stifling them, but with our beliefs. And, it's all in our head because we're brainwashed to be who we are. And we have to really, really just try to go above it. So that's why New Year's resolutions are going to be brilliant if you do a clearing, and they will work for you. Just putting it out there.
And the power of now as well, as Ken says, the power of now. And you can have a New Year's resolution every day. You can have a new day resolution, a new moment resolution, a new hour resolution, right? Any moment you can start fresh. You can start from a clean slate. It doesn't have to be the end of a year or the start of a year, because before you know it, it's the 27th of January and almost the end of the month already. And where are you at with resolutions? Where are you at with?
And then here's the other thing I'll add to that. So let's shove aside New Year's resolutions altogether. Let's just go, okay, so what? It's January 26th here in the United States. So, let's say, tonight, I make a resolution tonight that I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then let's say a couple weeks go by, doing really great. And then, oops, something happens, some wonky happens, and I've just failed my resolution. But did I? See, this is another reason why that whole way of thinking, New Year's resolutions, is a wrong way of thinking. Because here's the thing. It's great to set a goal for yourself. And, like, hey, I want to accomplish X, Y, and Z by this. Okay? Here's the thing, though. New Year's resolutions promote a start and stop attitude. It's not about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If you fall off the horse, you don't get to stop anymore. If you fall off the horse, you now get to use that circumstances leverage to grow, get stronger, get wiser, get better, and continue the journey forward with what you've learned. That's the key. It's not about the resolutions and the start and stop. That's a nightmare. Instead, make the goal, set the goal, and then if you have bumps and bruises along the way, embrace that, grow from that, get better from that, get wiser from that. It doesn't mean that you have to stop and restart. No, that's part of the journey. That's what's going to make you stronger. That's what's going to make you better. That's the right way of thinking.
Yeah, and be gracious with yourself and enjoy the journey, right? Enjoy it. We've got Mike has joined us. Hello, Mike Ashabrainer. I hope I'm saying that, or Ashabrana. Good evening on LinkedIn. Good evening. And it just so happens Mike knows Charles. We've got a bit of networking going on in the chat. Hey, big dog, he says to Charles. Good to see you here. Well, there we go. Mike's obviously a good person because he knows Charles, and Charles is a good person. So welcome aboard, Mike. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. Oh gosh, this is just brilliant, this conversation. I'm absolutely loving this. And wherever you're at, it's absolutely perfect because everyone is on their own journey. And at the end of the day, how you do life is how you do life. How are you going to choose to do life? And we all have some genius factor about us. My dad always said to me, God has a plan for you. We're all here for a reason, I believe. And it's about finding our genius. I love, Angelique, how you shared about the apple and the pear. There's another great saying about if a goldfish judges itself by its ability to climb a tree, it will always think it's a failure, right? Because goldfish don't climb trees, right? And so how often do we as human beings do things which feel like a grind, which feel like a hustle, which feel like we're pushing a boulder instead of actually just coming back and coming into our genius zone and actually doing what comes in flow for us, what comes easily for us, and what brings us joy, right? It's the whole Ikigai principle of what brings you joy? What do you love? What does the world needs? What can you be paid for? Right? All those things when it comes to your, purpose around your business. What is it that you love doing, and how can you be more in flow with what you love doing? Any other final thoughts, Angelique, on hustling? We are about to wrap up the show, but Truth About Hustling is our show title today, and we've gone in several directions around this. Angelique, anything else on hustling?
So, I just wanted to leave a little quote that I created. It's called, when you trust the flow, manipulation becomes unnecessary.
Love that. Yes, beautiful. Love, love, love that. And Angelique, where can people connect with you? I know Corinda wants to interview you for his show, Empowerment Extend, which he says, I think he's going through a name change there. But for those that want to interview Angelique or want to do an RTT session with her, where can they connect with you, Angelique?
So my website is angeliquepellegrino.com. Or they can also jump on my link tree, which is linktr.ee// Angelique Pellegrino.
Beautiful. And there it is there. Linktree will have a link to the website as well, linktr.ee/ Angelique Pellegrino, as the name spelt. There it is there. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Angelique. And Ken, how can people connect with you?
So maybe this is your first time being on the show and watching our stuff. So just really shortly here, I've lost 62.5 pounds, and I've been able to keep that off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. And right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you feel energized, but also to lose the weight and finally be able to keep it off. I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how this industry makes money. And I show you how you can feel your body God's way so that you can finally break free and keep the weight off for life sustainably, like I've been able to. So it's a mini educational boot camp. It's not an eating plan. It's not a workout plan. It is a foundation, one which I can guarantee you'll never be moved from ever again once we establish it. And so you can get into my world and connect with me through www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. And in there, you'll find 4 buttons. One is to join my mini educational bootcamp, extremely reasonably priced. Second is you can book a free strategy call with me. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let's unpack what your next steps look like. Third and fourth, subscribe to my YouTube channel and connect with me on Facebook. So that's that. My quote for today is actually kind of a nostalgic one. It's by a a legend in this industry, one that I wish he was still around because he had so much wisdom and so much stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm actually being prompted in my head to go and find some old school YouTube videos of this guy, Jim Rohn. Everybody's heard of him, and I love him. I used to listen to some of his stuff. And so here's my quote. And I've heard him say this many times before. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better.
Nice one. And of course, Jim Rohn was a big mentor for Tony Robbins, one of the biggest personal development gurus in the world. Jim Rohn, legend. I love that quote. Thank you so much, Ken. Now, before I share how you can work with me or how you can connect with me and those links and my quote today, I just want to come quickly to some of the questions. So Corinda's got a random question here for you, Angelique, because you're in Brisbane. What are the top tourist attractions in Brisbane?
Oh, I don't think there's top attractions, really. I think the tour, from Kangaroo Point, going all along the river to South Bank and then coming back, walking the walking bridge to the center of the city through the park into Queen Street, and then coming back on the other side with a new walking bridge, doing a full circle. That to me is the biggest highlight you've seen Brisbane, really. And of course, there's Koala Park to visit, and that's quite nice. That's about it, really. Yeah.
Plays Wildlife Park, and also South Bank is a big attraction, and the Story Bridge climb. I would say the Story Bridge climb, which is not far from where you are, Angelique. I have lived in Brisbane a few times as well, and also the murals around Brisbane are amazing. The artwork around the centre of Brisbane. And of course, Brisbane has the 2032 Olympics coming up, so there's a lot of development going on in Brisbane and the Gold Coast at the moment. A lot of high rises are going up everywhere. So it's very interesting times around southeast Queensland at the moment, the fastest growing region in Australia. And then, of course, we've got the government's bringing in 1.8 billion migrants as well over the next 5 years. 1.8 million. Did I say billion? Million. 1.8 million migrants as well. So we've got a lot of activity coming in, a lot of multiculturalism coming into Australia too, even more so. So Corinda's changing his show to Between Signal. Is that the name of your show, Corinda? Between Signal from Empowerment Extend. And he says he'd love to interview Angelique on the podcast. There you go. So reach out to Angelique. You'll find her on Facebook as well, LinkedIn. And Corinda says, yep, and always keep smiling, right? Never let yourself down. Yes, there's always a reason we can smile. Put a smile on your dial. There it is, right there. I have my little smiley face to remind me.
You've always got some kind of prop behind there. I love it.
So, yes, definitely put a smile on the dial, because when you smile, it uses a lot less facial muscles than if you're frowning. And lots of other comments. Have a look through the comments on Facebook here. Any other? Oh, yes, Corinda's AI is taking over the world. Government don't be careful. They just want to keep them. Well, we know there's a lot of corruption in government, that's for sure. Corinda says, wow. Well, Corinda, you can never trust anyone nowadays. Now, that's a very strong statement. I would say, yes, there are the untrustworthy out there, and there's also the good people, the trustworthy people. So choose carefully and, check people out thoroughly before you do business with them too, I would say. And be careful. Yes, be careful who is real and who is fake, Corinda. Absolutely. Yes, beautiful. Okay. Same Google AI mode, Ken. Oh, yeah, AI mode. Well, that's right. Google's AI mode is interesting, isn't it? Yes, that is a whole
I won't use Google. I will not use Google. I refuse. The only time I will use Google is if I'm actually looking for a mainstream article to rip apart. So that's the only reason why I will, but I don't even use Chrome. I refuse to use Chrome because their whole symbol, if you look at the Chrome symbol, it's actually 666.
Oh.
Okay, yes, right. Oh, yes, it is too. Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah. And at the end of the day, as Corinda says, people don't give a fuck, sorry for swearing, but it's true. And some have to swear, Sometimes, like Tony Robbins, sometimes we just have to shift the state by swearing. People definitely don't give an F, and some people do.
You know what? I'm a full-blown Christian, all right, and Reformed Christian at that. My views on using the F word and the S word and all the other stuff, if you're going to use it tactfully and you're going to use it carefully, I don't see a problem with it. It's the people that overuse it and say F this and F that and this and that and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
That's like, no. I do think that there's a time and place to use those words where it's not necessarily offensive or wrong. So that's my view, and that's coming from a full-blown Christian.
Well said.
Yes, and we just had Australia Day yesterday on the Gold Coast around Australia. We had Australia Day, and the piss, as we say, we take the piss out of the yobbo Aussie, right? And the yobbo Aussie, they say something like this: "Yeah, mate, how you fucking going down here? Fucking here, mate, fucking here, fucking fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah."
Oh, see that's a turn off.
Well, it is a turn off. A lot of people speak like this, okay, and then they go, fucking can't. Anyway, look, it goes on. But you do hear this sometimes in some pubs. You will hear people that sound like this. And it's like, fuck. And they always seem to have this high pitch thing going.
Hey, you know what that sounds like? Aldwyn, you laugh at that. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like, fuck.
We need to learn from the chickens or the crows, one or the other.
Oh, that's so good. That's really good.
You're welcome.
For everybody. And to connect with me, just go to linktree/Aldwyn. You'll find all my links, linktr.ee/Aldwyn.
That was
in
so
there,
fun.
you'll find my website, which has top 5 tips on gaining TV exposure. You get that free download there. Also, we have the Global Good News Challenge. Thank you to all of our Good News Crusaders over the last 5.5 years. And congratulations, Felisa Moffat is our winner from last year, did every single monthly Global Good News Challenge. Well done, Felisa. Extraordinary work. And I can see she's back on it again doing January. And Troy Patching has been really regular as well. Thank you so much. And I know, Angelique, you've done quite a few. And I know Ken, you've stuck 1 or 2 in there over the years. So thank you so much to everyone who's been a Good News Crusader, helping to lift the energy on the planet and helping to decrease depression and suicide rates. It makes the world of difference. I've personally had depression. I've had 4 friends who have taken their own life by the age of 45. So I do believe with more good news, we can help to shift that statistic. We can help to bring more joy into people's lives and see that, hey, it's really an amazing world. Yes, you're going to have your hustlers and your rip-offs and your con artists. Yes, you're going to have that. And you also have some amazing goodwill Samaritans, some beautiful people with huge hearts that are making a massive positive difference in the world as well. It's a yin-yang of life, right? It's just, where do you choose to hang out? Which side are you going to hang out in? You're going to hang out in the light or the dark? And ideally, minimizing the dark energies and forces in your life. And sometimes those are within ourselves. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy with our own dark forces or energies or entities within us as well. So, doing the clearing, doing the work that's necessary. Now, if you want to be seen, heard, and known, build your profile, then reach out as well. Just send me a DM and to support you with that. Or if you want to come into our next Fear to Freedom book and share your story of how you have transformed from fear to freedom and the wisdom you've learned on that journey, then reach out. And I do have a retreat coming up on the Gold Coast in April, which I'm really excited about. And you'll be hearing about it very soon as well. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. It looks just like that, Aldwyn Altuney, Media Queen. Look it up on YouTube. And check out some of our 1,600 plus videos on there. We had over 301,000 views on our YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone who's supported our YouTube over the years and all the other platforms. Connect wherever you are on socials. And now my quote, I'm going to share 2 quotes. I really love this one here by J.G. Holland. God gives every bird its food, but he does not throw it into its nest. So God gives every bird its food, but he does not throw it into the nest, right? So, there is plenty of everyone. There's no need to hustle, okay? You can elegantly present your offer. You can go out and do your best to help people with what they need. And if you're the person who can help them personally, then great. Sell them your services or offer your services. If you're not, then refer them to someone else. And if you really don't like them, then refer them to someone else you don't like. Okay, so go about it that way, I suggest. Corinda says, great show. Thank you. Oh, one of the best shows ever. Oh, thank you, Corinda. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I let rip on the Aussie Ocker today, so I haven't actually done that on any shows before. And now everyone's going to go to the pub and like, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, fuck yeah, mate, yeah. Anyway, and the other quote, I do want to share one more quote, which I shared on my socials. And I was actually at the back of Bunnings the other day buying some mushroom compost and some soil for my chickens to scratch around in, because they love to have dirt baths and they love to just, roll around in the dirt. So while I was at the back of Bunnings, this lady said to me this beautiful quote. She said, a bee does not waste its energy convincing a fly that honey is better than shit. Okay, a bee does not waste its energy trying to convince a fly that honey is better than shit. So sometimes in life, let it be, let them, as Mel Robbins said, right? Let go and let flow, and let go and let God, as well, as they say. Corinda, yes, PM me. You'd love to come on the show. Fantastic. We'd love to chat with you, Corinda. You're awesome. Thank you for being one of our best fans. You're always commenting on our shows. We love your work. Thank you, Corinda. Much love to you. Much love to everyone who's joined us live today on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are. Please let us know, what did you think of the show? And if you've really enjoyed it, you think someone else could benefit from this, then share the love. We would love that. Like our Total Truth Show Facebook page. Check us out on Spotify, all the places. Any final words, Angelique or Ken?
Yes, I just want to invite you again to take a good look at yourself and your behaviors, whether you are hustling for empowerment or whether it's a bit shady. And, make the changes that you need to do. That's it.
Yes, it's your life. It's your life at the end of the day.
It's your
How
life.
do you want to live your life and enjoy
karma's a bitch. The karma's a
Oh.
bitch. It's always going to get you. Hey, it's always going to get you where it hurts the most. So, the only option is to just have good karma. So, again, revisit what you do and make sure you're not hustling for, gain and lying and manipulating. Just make sure it's empowering, that you give them value, that you offer them a new change or whatever it is that you're offering.
Treat others as you want to be treated. Put out the kind of energy that you want for you, and honor your word wherever possible. And if you don't honor your word and do what you say you're going to do by the time you say you're going to do it, then clean up as soon as possible and do your best to be in integrity with yourself and with others as well. That will really help you have a much more empowered life, to honor your word. And it can be a work in progress, right? We all tend to take on a lot in our life, so be mindful of what you give your word to for yourself and for others, and
trust yourself. And trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust yourself and be in the flow. No, It's coming, because manipulating is not necessary at all.
And the more you honor yourself and the more you do what you say you're going to do, the more you're in integrity with yourself, the more you're going to actually trust yourself, the more you're going to build confidence in yourself, the more you're going to be proud of yourself, the more you honor your word for yourself, the more that you do what you say to do.
And the more people will respect you.
Yes, and more people respect you. Yes, and it's a work in progress, and sometimes we fall down and we just get back up again and we keep going, right?
It happens.
Thank you so much, Angelique. Ken, anything else you want to share?
Nope.
No. Little love heart, little purple love heart. I love purple. Thank you for that, Corinda. Purple, one of my favorite colors. Thank you for the love, Corinda. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Angelique. Awesome show. The Truth About Hustling. It's a wrap. Total Truth Show episode 124 done, and we're going to be back with more amazing episodes soon. Have an awesome day or night. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.